Hey, love, I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world right now. So, this podcast today is extra special and a little different to my previous podcast because in today's episode, I have my first ever guest on the Coaching with Emily podcast. And this is so exciting. And I made sure to choose very wisely and carefully as to who my first guest will be. And before I introduce who she is, I just want to go over some of the things that we'll be talking about in today's episode so you know what to expect. And also, there's also a free little thing for you at the end, which you'll want to hang around for, so stay tuned for that. But in today's episode, we talk about a whole bunch of fun stuff. Like we talk about spirituality, breathwork, the energetic states, how to show up as yourself and be yourself, and how to show up authentically and confidently in areas where you wouldn't usually be confident and things like that. Like the guest that I'll be having on the show today, she is the most authentic person I feel like I know, and that was what drew me to her and her energy, and why she stood out to me so much is because she is so fully authentically herself, no fucks given, and I admire that about her so much. And I know that you'll be able to feel that during this episode as well. So I'm super excited for you to listen. And make sure that you stay tuned for the end, because in the end of today's podcast, Danika was really lovely and decided to give you guys the experience of a 5-minute breathwork practice that you can do at the end of this podcast, and also something you can do in your everyday wherever you are. It's less than 5 minutes long, and it is a really great breathwork practice to get you grounded and back in touch with your authentic and truest self. So stay tuned for that towards the end of today's podcast, and without further ado, let's dive in. Hi, my name is Emily and welcome to the Coaching with Emily podcast. I am studying to be a life coach and a breathwork facilitator, and I will be sharing my journey and concepts I have learned and continue to learn with you in my podcasts. In the Coaching with Emily podcast, I also talk about everything personal development in the practical and spiritual sense. I am so happy you're here, and I'm so excited you tuned in to follow my personal growth and personal development journey. My goal is to help guide you on the path to live your best life, being the best version of yourself possible. All right, love, let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Coaching with Emily podcast. Today's podcast is extra special and is a little different from my previous podcast because we have a very special guest joining us today. This guest is a beautiful soul who is the most down-to-earth, fully authentic person I know, with the most grounding energy about her. It is a pleasure of mine to welcome the lovely Danika Doucet to the Coaching with Emily podcast. Hi, Danika. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Emily. Oh my gosh, you just got all of my heartstrings. Wow, that was a beautiful intro.
Yeah, well, I mean it. Danika and I are both training and studying in the Hungry for Happiness program in becoming trauma-informed life coaches, which I am so grateful to be doing this course alongside you. So from what I know from chatting with you and seeing you on socials and being in the program with you, not only are you currently studying to be a life coach, but you're totally passionate about personal development, embodiment, cultivating reconnection to our bodies and our emotions. You're passionate about the earth and source, and you're also a breathwork facilitator, but you weren't always doing these things. Can you take me back and tell me a little bit more about your story and how you got into all of this?
Yes, absolutely. It's crazy how we've gotten to where we are right now. I feel like everything's culminated to bring me right here. And I feel like there's been just so many parts of the puzzle coming together over the past, probably 5-6 years, I'd say, for myself. Growing up, I spent a lot of my time suppressing emotion and also playing into many different roles. And as we've learned through the Hungry for Happiness program, and as I've been doing work on myself for quite a bit of time, um, I've noticed that these roles keep on coming up, and they show up as a deeper layer every time. You know, you feel like you kind of work through it and then it pops back up. Growing up, I was playing oftentimes the victim role. I've played the avoidant, the role of the seducer. The controller. There's so many of them, right? We've all been there and explored them in our own capacities. But I most of all felt disconnected from myself, from my body especially. And so I had a hard time finding my worth and believing that I was here for a purpose. I felt like that there was a lot of comparison, a lot of people were better than me. And I found my worth in making my body look a certain way. So I got really into the gym and was at the gym about 3 hours a day lifting weights. And I decided one time to book myself a trip to Thailand out of the blue. I'm very spontaneous, and I was very spontaneous with signing up with this course as well, but decided to go to Thailand and take a yoga teacher training, having not done any yoga before, barely. And so I dedicated myself to learning more about it and decided, oh, I'm going to do a handstand. I'm going to be one of those yoga teachers. I can do a handstand so I can be a yoga teacher, right? And so that trip really changed a lot of things for me. It started out as being just another thing that I wanted under my belt to prove worthiness. And it ended up opening up my mind in many ways and just discovering more of a spiritual side to me and a connection with something, with a higher aspects of myself. And it's been a journey since then. I've been doing more trainings and getting to know myself and engaging in relationships that would bring out a lot of stuff within me, but engaging in relationships where these people would be willing to do the work with me. And I think that that's an important component in being able to work through whatever you need to work through. It's your support, your people, if they're willing to do that work for you, with you, right? I was a yoga teacher for the past, I think, 4 years now since then. And I felt like there was something missing from it, a depth. And that's where I got into breath work, because it was a lot of movement and connection with breath, and that was a first pillar. But then when I did my first breath work session, like a powerful holotropic breath work, I was like, shit, this is so much emotions coming up. Like I didn't even know that I had this in me. Emotions that I hadn't let myself feel. I didn't feel like I was an angry person, but emotions of anger started coming up. Emotions of sadness, of loneliness, all of these things that I was suppressing with these protectors, of being avoidant, of, playing the victim, of whatever it was. It was a way to get in my body to reclaim it in a way. Yeah. And I don't know if it was around then, but I started really just taking my time in nature as well. And I found that nature has been such a great resource to kind of bring my energy back and to connect with Mother Earth. I'm trying to go down to the basics. And then I came across this coaching program, which I never envisioned myself being a coach. And even going into this kind of workshop for it, I was like, nah, this this is not for me. I'm not a coach. And I left feeling different. I believed in myself. It was kind of like I got this little hope of, hey, maybe this is another pillar to kind of bring things together. So I have been really exploring with body and movement and these things, but then being able to gain some tools to be able to work in a one-on-one container with people and integrate the somatic work, I think is like the biggest package so that we can get to know ourselves better. Basically, I was very much disconnected from myself, and just random occurrences of things have brought me to where I'm at this moment. And I'm really driven and interested in the body, in the nervous system, in the ways that we react to our environment and how we get to take our own sovereignty back. And so, because I truly believe, I don't want to think that these destructive behaviors and that these protectors need to rule our lives forever. You know, binge eating, watching movies or whatever to distract, whatever it is, sex, alcohol, drugs. I feel like this is a way to cover up what we're actually dealing with. And these destructive behaviors oftentimes take us over, and it's almost like we're not even there anymore. We've left the building, we're completely disconnected from our bodies, and it feels like we reaffirm to ourselves that we're never going to change. There's a hopeful part of me that wants to believe that we can move past these things and develop better relationships with ourselves, with our protectors, so that we know them better. And that way we're able to meet the needs at the root of the issue before we engage into these destructive patterns and behaviors and cycles and loops. So that we can then, by being in our bodies, we're better able to make clear decisions and do things for our highest good, not be sabotaging ourselves over and over again. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story, Danika. That was amazing. I love that you spoke about the protectors and that how we can literally dissociate from our body in order to try and protect ourselves. And a lot of people, for people who aren't in this work and don't really know what a protector is something that we develop sort of unknowingly, sort of unconsciously, to protect parts of us where growing up or during our conditioning process where unmet emotional needs developed and happened. And so we don't necessarily know, and we're not conscious of our protectors that develop and that they are in the form of destructive behaviors. They are I feel like they have a tendency of sneaking through the back door and just sort of being there. And until you have awareness and bring awareness around that, you don't notice you're even doing it. So yeah, I love that you spoke to that. And I found one of my protectors is definitely the avoider. And I've noticed, and one of my brothers is the same. He's also developed this coping mechanism, or this protector of the avoider. And we've both had very similar experiences where we really dissociate from our body, where it feels like, and we've both spoken about how it feels like we go through life almost like we're watching ourselves in a movie. Like we don't feel in our body. It feels like, yeah, it just feels like we're watching a movie of ourselves. But now from doing this work, I can see and realize that this is actually the avoider coming up, because there's a part of us that feels unsafe to be in our body. But it really sounds like that you've been through, quite a lot, and your journey to get here has definitely been a journey. And I mean, it shows that you've been through, like that you've come out the other side and you're just this like beacon of light now. Because I remember actually the first time I ever, like during our first lecture in the Hungry for Happiness program, you were the person that stood out to me so much through, like, out of everyone on the Zoom call with like 85 other women or something like that. You were the one that stood out to me, because I remember, like, at the start of our lectures, we do this grounding, either a meditation or embodiment movement or like a dance or something to get us embodied and grounded, ready to learn before our lecture. And I remember our very first call, I'm pretty sure we did a dance or something. And I remember, because it was our first call and lecture and none of us had done any of the work yet, a lot of us were still very camera shy. So a lot of us, including myself, went off to the side, like out, like off the camera to do this embodiment dance. And I remember seeing you, Danika, you were like there, like so fully present and just dancing like nobody was watching. And I'm like, who is that girl? I want to be friends with that girl. And like your room was all purple. Like in lectures, your room's always really purple. Is that a lamp you have, like a blue light lamp or something?
Yeah, I wanted to flick it on right now. It's actually not close.
I love that.
I got some colored light bulbs from Amazon, and I just have them all over my apartment because it helps me to connect with my inner child, and it helps me to ground. So I use as much as I can, creating a space for myself so that it's easy for me to drop in, so that it's fun for me to be here. And I have lots of quirky art in my place, and I've just made it my own. And I like to be cozy. I like to wear comfortable clothing. I like to do all of the things that just feed me and that make me feel good, so that my body is a safe place to be.
I love that. It's like enhancing your life by like enhancing the moment by like 20% each time.
Yes, yeah, they talked about that, and I highly resonated with that. I think, for example, just yesterday, I was at a friend's cottage, and I just had brought all of the things to make myself feel the most comfortable and safe. So even though in certain points in the night I didn't feel completely safe, I had resource points to help me feel safe. And that's it's like the toolbox that you build for yourself. And it can be as simple as bringing cozy socks and bringing my big fluffy blanket and just going in the hammock, doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And this is something else from my story, is that I've spent a lot of time trying to shape myself to be liked and not wanting to step on anybody's toes. And at one point, I just said, fuck it. I want to be doing the things that I want to do when I want to do it. And I don't care who's watching me. I don't care if people are judging me, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing and it feels good in my body. So why should I stop? And I think it started with me just going and listening to live music on my own, doing things on my own, right? We're often so afraid of, oh, what's going to happen if I go there on my own? Like, I don't have a friend with me, whatnot. But I would go listen to live music with my water bottle, with my journal, and I would dance. I would just have the best time, take the whole dance floor on my own. People sometimes just like be like, who's this crazy chick? Like, what's she doing? And I'm having a ball.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of confidence which I aspire to have. That's amazing.
And that's the thing. I was complete opposite to that. I was very hyper aware of what everybody thought of me. And I think that also is a piece of like hope for anyone who's feeling like they aren't able to fully express themselves, or people are going to judge me or whatnot, or having anxiety over going to certain places. You get to actually take back that power. It's like, who are you giving your power away to in those moments? If you want to do the thing, do it.
What would be the best advice you would give someone to claim their power back?
Let me just feel into my body right here. We were talking about this before the call, but I just want to add in here how we have these 3 energetic states that we work from. And the first one is our structured mind. And this is where the mind just does its thing, right? You're caught up in your mind. You're in your thoughts, not in your body. Then the second layer to that is the soft mind, where you kind of step back from your thoughts and you get to observe them as they are. You're not judging them. You just have more space and you're viewing it from a different vantage point too. You're not in it. And then the third layer is the embodied awareness. And it's just feeling this everything, feeling all sensations. That's how I look at it. Do you have anything to add with these 3 different energetic states?
I mean, you explained it perfectly. A great analogy which Sam, our mentor, gave during one of the lectures was that structured mind is like imagining driving to the yoga studio, for example. Like you're driving to, you know where to go, you're thinking, okay, I need to go here, here, here. And whereas soft mind is more that feeling after doing the yoga, you're feeling more flowy and just more in touch with your body. And then yes, embodied awareness, I feel like is very much, I still feel like I'm yet to fully embodied awareness. I don't think I've reached that level yet. I feel like I've had small moments in my past where I have, but embodied awareness, like you said, is just very connected to all, not identifying with anything at all, not identifying with your body or yourself, just being connected to everything, like a sense of wholeness and oneness.
Yeah, I love that. So to come back to your question, what would be a good piece of advice for someone to claim their power? That's what I wanted to kind of drop down into my soft mind / embodied awareness. And I too, it's a practice, right? To keep on going back to that, because you can choose every day when you wake up to just be in that structured mind. So a way to claim your power, I feel, is just to start listening to yourself and listening to your own needs. If you want to be doing something, like expressing yourself, right? Not holding back. And that might be hard for someone who has felt like there's been a blockage in their expression. But claiming your power, it's not having anything external to you affect your inner world. That's how I look at it. And standing both feet in the earth and not being defined by your past, not being defined by the destructive behaviors that you might have done yesterday. Starting brand new in this moment and being like, okay, what can I do for myself that is going to bring me more joy, peace, love, playfulness, ease, and going from there.
Yeah.
For me, things that it's also finding out, what do you enjoy doing? Oftentimes we're in a relationship and we just become one with that person, or in a friendship, any type of codependent relationship. And I've seen this show up in my life in so many different ways. And you almost become like, you lose yourself within those relationships. And then you forget what you actually love to do. For me, it was discovering that I love to listen to music, listen to live music. Yes, live music. Oh, I love dancing, moving my body. I love hugging trees, talking with trees,
Yeah.
laying down just anywhere. and breathing. I love being playful and dressing in comfy clothing. It's really releasing, for me, claiming your power is releasing all ties to the external world, releasing what people may or may not think of you. That's none of your business. And just being with yourself and asking yourself, what do I need? What do I want? What would feel good right now? And doing that. And it could be just a little thing. And the more and more that we do it, like the better it
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like training our body to know that it's safe to do that, because I feel like that's something which I've definitely struggled with in the past, is being with myself and being in my body and with my body and with myself. And I feel like there's a lot of guilt for a lot of people, and definitely for me, where if you were to ask me a few years ago about doing what feels good for me, I would have thought that that would have been being selfish and thinking of myself before other people, doing what I want, especially in relationships as well. Like you said, like we adapt so much to that other person and do what they want to do, and things as a couple where you forget to do what makes you feel good.
And I love that you brought up selfish, because I think that's something that gets brought up with a lot of people. I think that it's almost unfair to yourself to do these things. I think that there needs to be a balance, right? You can't be completely pushing yourself to the side just to appease other people and to not make them feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
At the end of the day, there needs to be some sort of boundary and balance where you can recharge your batteries and do what feels good for you, because it is really about nurturing your system, right? That's where I bring it back to the nervous system. So, for anyone who's unaware of the autonomic nervous system, I'll just give a little overview so you can have a better understanding. But the autonomic nervous system is in control of all the automatic functions that happen in your body. So, as you go through life, you pick up on so much from your external world and it gets processed in your body. You, in an instant, can feel safe with someone or unsafe with someone just by meeting them. Within the first 30 seconds of meeting someone, sometimes you're like, how you saw me on the screen and you're like, ooh, I like her, right? Your nervous system was like, yes, this feels good. But then with other people, you meet them and it's like, no, 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 no. And what happens, there's an actual response in your body that might dysregulate your system. And so your sympathetic system turns on. So you have your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. And when your sympathetic turns on, there's so many changes that happen within your system. Your heart rate goes up, maybe your breathing becomes more shallow. You become in this state of defense or fight or flight, you might have heard, or fawn. So you have these options that your body tells you, like, this is danger, right? And it's been like this to protect us at the end of the day from dangerous situations. But when we do perceive threats and when we've lived feeling unsafe for a lot of our lives, we can oftentimes perceive more threats in our environment. So it just keeps on going on and on and on and on. But in order to be able to rest and digest and sleep well and have your immune system working for you and your digestion, everything, for all of your systems to be working properly, you need to go into your parasympathetic nervous system and activate this. So the parasympathetic, this is where all the rejuvenation happens and your breath slows down. There's more space. It's when your digestion happens. you feel very calm and safe. So I don't even know why I started talking about the nervous system, but um, but basically, so to go back to this being selfish, right? I did that in little air quotes. Um, you need to look after your nervous system. You need to be able to regulate your nervous system. And there are different ways that you can do that. And for me, it's with the things that make me feel well, it's with the things that make you feel safe. It's those loving connections, the people around you that actually calm your nervous system. It's with going out in nature and moving your body or doing breath work or whatever it is. This is going to help to bring you back to a state of homeostasis from that hyper arousal, or even from that hypo arousal. The hyper arousal, that's like that fight, stressed, anxious, hyper vigilant. And then you could be on the other end of the spectrum, the hypo arousal, which is something that I feel like I've dealt with mostly. And that's the dissociation, the disconnection, kind of like freeze and reptile mode. So it's not selfish to take time for yourself and to help your nervous system regulate. And it's not selfish to ask for support.
Yeah.
It's actually a great way to be held and experience co-nourishment.
I think it can be so scary for some people to ask for support. And I feel like, especially with women, because there's been this whole thing throughout history where women are weak and women are the less superior people. So I feel like, and this is something that I've definitely felt during the years, but we feel like we need to come across as strong women, like we don't need to ask for help and be supported, because there's, not for everyone, but for some people, there is this fear of being looked at like you're weak. And this does also come into how we were conditioned growing up as well. And even a lot of the time for men as well, because when the young boys, they're always told to hide their emotions and not express their emotions. Like, I'll get over it. You'll be right. Get over it. Like, shake it off and not feel the emotions. They talk a lot in the Hungry for Happiness program about resourcing ourselves, and we can't give to the world and for other people if we're not feeling resourced. And that can be through very little things which sound so simple, like you said, just going out and hugging a tree and being in nature. Like, there's something so powerful in that, which is so undervalued. Like, it's so powerful. And I feel like there's energy in everything as well. So you like feed and you feel that energy from things, and it feeds you.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that as well. The trees and nature hold a slight negative charge, and as humans, we have a positive charge. So naturally, when we're touching the ground, when we have our hands in the dirt or we're hugging a tree, it's helping to regulate our system, like actually making a difference. Yeah. And I also wanted to to add in breath work. How I know that you're in breathwork facilitator training at the moment, and I am a breathwork facilitator. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, because breath is bi-directional with your emotions, meaning that, like I explained just earlier, you're constantly picking up on the outside world, and then your system reacts to it automatically, right? But the breath is the one thing that happens automatically, right? Your breath work will change, but that you can also consciously change or manipulate. And so if you are in those hyper aroused states, there are certain breaths that you can use and do to bring yourself back down, to regulate your system. Just like if you were in a state of hypoarousal all the way down and disconnected, dissociated, You could use activating breath patterns to wake yourself back up, to get back in your body, to move energy around.
It's so crazy to think that the breath can do that, because it's something we do every day. Like, it's something our body does without, you don't need to actively focus, okay, I need to breathe. But at the same time, it's something which it's another thing which I feel is very underestimated and not talked about enough, because it's something so easy. You can literally do it whenever, wherever you are. Just focus back onto the breathing, especially when you're in that hyper arousal state. There's a lot of times where I've noticed where I'm not breathing and I forget to breathe because I'm like stressed out and doing this stuff where I'm focusing so hard where I forget to breathe. And then all of a sudden I'll just take a deep breath and go, oh my God, I didn't realize I wasn't breathing for the last minute or so.
Yeah. I definitely resonate with that. I think a lot of people do.
So how long have you been doing breathwork for?
I started last year. It hasn't been too long, but it feels like forever ago because so much has changed from that one practice. It's been transformational. I've
Wow.
had sessions where so much has come up, and I've also seen kind of resistance towards the practice as well when I don't feel like breathing. It's usually times that I need it the most. Yeah, I think that breathing is the most powerful somatic tool, I would say. It's something that when we talk about somatic practices, it's a huge leg into healing, into moving through and forward. Samantha Skelly oftentimes will mention how you can't fix things with your mind, with your intellectual mind. You need to go to the root of it, which is in the body. And that was one of the first things that caught my eye when I first started doing breath work. It was that idea of, oh, I have been trying to fix everything with my mind, and that's not getting me anywhere. And yeah, I do movement, but actually breathing, you're going and getting stuff from all the way down and moving it out.
Oh my God, yes. There's so many people I can think of right now that need this, which are so caught up with the busyness in their everyday lives. For my work, I own a business doing lash extensions, which a lot of the time sometimes feels like therapy for people coming in because they're lying there and they're getting their lashes done. And a lot of my clients use it as an opportunity to just vent and get everything off their chest. And there's this one client in particular who I love. She's got such a lovely soul about her, and she's so giving, where she gives herself too much to people, where she can't say no, where she's so flustered with everyday life, but it's all self-inflicted. Like, she doesn't have, besides getting her lashes done once every 2 or 3 weeks, she doesn't have a second to just be with herself. And I feel like it's people like that who are just so caught up in the hustle and the daily grind, where if they could just implement that minute of breathing.
And, you know,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot too of, oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I wish I had the time for this. I don't have the time. I strongly believe that we prioritize what we want, and oftentimes we're on the back burner. And if you want to prioritize yourself, it doesn't take 3 hours a day. It can be as simple as 5 minutes, and it can be as simple as setting a reminder on your phone at like 3:20 that says breathe.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
take a moment and take like 5 deep breaths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is such a natural instinct that we have, which has been so numbed out. Like, instead of breathing, we'll go on our phone and just
Yeah.
mindlessly scroll through social media. I know I've definitely done that a lot, where I tell myself that I want to have moments for myself, but instead of being with myself, I'm literally putting my awareness on other people and other external things. But breathing is that natural instinct, because, like, you think about in moments where we feel very flustered or during panic attacks, for example, we breathe, like we hyperventilate. And then moments, if we're feeling very nervous, our natural instinct is to take that deep breath, like before an interview with someone and you're a bit nervous, like that's just what we do. But if you were to really focus on that and do like a practice like what you just did or like what you just taught, it would just and it's so simple, but it literally has the power to change people's lives with something so simple. How do you feel your life has changed by implementing breathwork into your life?
Well, for one, I feel like I'm able to take a step back from myself and not be as reactive. I find that in moments where your whole body kind of gets taken, there's a sense of urgency to act fast. And that's oftentimes, well, we're off kilter already. So we're not going to make good decisions when we're in hyper arousal or hypo arousal. So having this practice of breath work has helped me to, in moments where I feel dysregulated, I can breathe and bring myself to a place where, okay, I can think clearer now. Instead of going to my coping mechanisms, which I'm fucking human. I still do it sometimes. Oftentimes I struggle with it. But I have this tool that instead of going and binge eating or scrolling on my phone mindlessly, I can be like, okay, I'm going to stop right now and I'm going to do this breath practice and see how I feel afterwards. And oftentimes what happens is that I was just looking for a shift. I was in a weird state and I was looking to numb out or to avoid or to get a stimulus outside of myself or to just feel better in some fleeting moment type of way. But instead, the breathwork practice helps us to feel that instantaneous shift and brings me back into my body so that I don't need to do those destructive behaviors anymore. They're not necessary. Yeah, so that's probably how my breathwork practice has impacted me the most. And also, being with people who bring up stuff within you, it's in those moments that you get to use those tools. And sometimes we can learn as much as we want to learn. We can cognitively understand these things, but when we're put in a situation, especially I'm going to use, for example, family brings out all of your triggers, right? They just they just see you. Also, like we talked a little bit about projection as well before this podcast, maybe during a little bit, but how when we're with certain people, they view us in a certain way. So they're projecting an idea of us and they're assuming that we're going to be acting in certain ways. So we end up just filling that role. And that kind of in a way reaffirms that we're still the same person, right? But if we have breath work, we're able to bring it down, regulate our system, see like, is this really me? Is this me right now? Or can I've changed. I've done so much work on myself, but sometimes when I go back to my family, it feels like I've done no work at all. And so it's in those moments where I can catch myself now and be like, okay, no, I'm going to take some breaths, get in my body and bring the energy down and prove to them that I have changed. I don't deal with situations the same way that I used to nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Uh,
That's huge. That's big. And I love that you spoke to that because there was moments where I was feeling so down on myself and I felt like I had done no progress when I was with family because I would be so harsh on myself, like, why am I acting like this? Because it's triggers which have been happening since you were really young. which maybe haven't changed. So, and like you said, these people project onto you. So, I mean, like, I don't think I know of anyone with a functional family. So I feel like everyone can really resonate to this. Just being around family, you have your limits, and there's moments where you're going to be triggered. I feel like it's just inevitable. But being able to regulate your own nervous system is the most powerful thing you can do, because you can't change what that person's going to do. It's just, there's no point getting upset and triggered over it, because there's, especially when it's nothing you can do about it. Like, I have family, there's an issue sometimes with certain family members with alcohol, and them not knowing when to stop and when their limit is, and how they act when they are on alcohol. And now that I've done the work, I can see that this alcohol is just this protector that they're putting on themselves to stop themselves from feeling the emotions. And like, I've done what I can to try and intervene and stop that person from, like, I've tried to shed a light showing them how not only is it affecting themselves, but also affecting other people. I feel like in those circumstances, there's just, unless they see it themselves and unless they want to do the work, they will never change. So the best thing that I've learned, and that anyone can learn, is to just focus on yourself.
Yeah.
One of my favorite analogies, which I heard so many years ago, but I always think about it, and going back to like that feeling selfish as well, for putting yourself first and resourcing yourself. My favorite analogy is, I'm probably going to butcher it a bit, but like being on an airplane, putting your gas mask on first before assisting other people. Because if you don't put yours on first, that person you're assisting, you're probably going to fuck it up, and you're not going to put their gas mask on correctly. They're going to die. You're going to die, because you all can't breathe. Where if you were to just put yours on first and then assist other people, you can help so many more people after you put yours on first. So I feel like that's a great example of just resourcing yourself and how not to feel selfish, because it's not selfish. It's more selfish putting other people first before you, I find.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and also would like to speak to mirroring a kind of like their higher aspects. So just like holding ourselves as individual, putting our mask on first, right? Not actual mask, but, but just doing what we need to take care of ourselves and looking out for our own energy, but then also seeing the best out of the people so that they have a little bit more opportunity to, I'm trying to find a word here that I'm not finding, but I guess I'll say it like this, have an opportunity to see a different possibility for themselves if we hold them at that standard, rather than projecting on them. Because it, like I said, going with my family, I feel like I'm being projected onto, but we're also doing the projecting sometimes and doing that same thing back to them. And I would love to share just a little quick experience I had with mirroring back in September last year. So my brother is 17, and we have not been close in the past few years. And I couldn't put my finger onto why, but he was always very triggering to me. Like I had some problems with his father, and I could see parts of his father come up in him sometimes that I just really hated. Just feel it. I was projecting onto him that he was arrogant, that he was, I don't know, just like a bunch of shit that wasn't even true, really. And with me coming in with that energy, he was meeting me with resistance as well. We were just not close at all. And like, there was always like, I was like, why is he never agreeing with me. Like he always finds a way to disagree or whatnot. Anyways, I decided when I came down there, it was his birthday. And I was like, this time, you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to love him up the most that I can. I'm going to show up with the best energy and look at him with all of the respect and kindness and just believe that he is going to be amazing today with me and that we're really going to connect. And I kid you not, like I've never felt more connected to my brother than that day. He came in and I ran over to him and gave him a big hug. And I was like, I love you so much. I'm so happy to see you, all of this stuff. And he ended up opening up to me about certain things where he was like, talking about how he loves riding his bike. He has a motorbike. And I was interested in learning more about him and about his bike and all of this stuff. And that lit him up. And so he was asking me, well, do you want to come for a ride? And I'm like, okay, right. And so I was able to witness him in his own element. And we went for a bike ride on his motorcycle. And I'm riding there with my little brother, like 10 years younger than me, who's always been the little baby. And now my life is in his hands. I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, close my eyes. And I will never forget this drive, just going down. Sun was going down. It was beautiful weather, and I was holding on to my brother. He was driving with such confidence, and I had my eyes, both eyes closed, and I was just breathing, completely trusting and surrendering and being with that moment and holding him in his light, like in his beauty. And all I see now when I think of my brother is just this big, beautiful heart, generous, kind, passionate, intelligent. Like I see all of the most beautiful things. And it's because I shifted my perception. I started looking at him differently. And ever since then, we've been so much more connected. Like I go down there, we live 3 hours apart. And I go and see him, and he's taking me on bike rides and on four-wheeler rides and all of these things that he loves to do. And it just lights me up to see him being lit up. And that's how easy it was to shift that relationship with just looking at him differently. And at the end, I just realized that all we both wanted was connection and love. And it just takes one person to switch that up. And if the other person is willing to play, then beautiful. And, we're going to come across people who are not willing to play. And so that could also bring up some stuff within us as well. But then that's where we get to regulate our nervous system.
Everyone is a beautiful lesson to learn from. You painted such a beautiful picture there. I could just imagine you on the back of the motorbike with the sun and everything.
Yeah.
It felt like I was in a movie scene when I was imagining it.
Probably one of my strongest memories in terms of feeling. Like whenever I need a resource point, that's where I go to. It's that moment of just
just full surrender.
Full surrender and trust and love. Yeah. I'm looking at him right now. There's a picture of him on the wall.
That's so beautiful. Isn't that crazy that some people in our life are the best lessons that they show us the best lessons that we can learn? And I love how you said that you were both at the end of the day when you took a step back and just observed, you realized that you are both just wanting that connection.
Yeah. And I think that's very common for a lot of humans, that it comes down to the same type of needs. We want to feel connected, belonging, safe, loved,
Mm-hmm.
like you name it. And we have all of these protectors, all of these roles that we are playing just to get those needs met, when if we were open and honest about our needs and our true desires, then we could get to that connection and to that love so much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's so important to have conscious relationships. And that's what I look for in all of my friendships and relationships. But it's more difficult when it comes to family because you don't pick and choose your family. And I think that's where it's the most sticky for
Mm-hmm.
sure. They bring up a lot of stuff within you that, you need to look at for yourself oftentimes. And our egos just don't want to do that. It's like, hell no, I did the work. I'm better than that. But are you really, if you're still getting all caught up in this shit? But then we also get to have compassion for ourselves because like that shit's hard and we can't be perfect. We're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep doing stuff sometimes that just makes us feel like, oh, dang it, I did it again, or I projected, or whatever it is. But beautiful thing is that you can always go back and untangle these things and dive deeper.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. And I think how you were saying at the start with your brother, how he was showing a lot of aspects or showing a lot of behaviors which resembled his father, which you didn't necessarily like. I heard in another podcast a few weeks ago that sometimes people ask for love and those human needs that we're wanting in the most unloving way.
Yeah.
But it's really just them asking for that love and attention, even though it may not seem like it because they're being an absolute jerk of a person. It's almost like that saying, like, treat people like how you want to be treated. And like you said as well, some people are willing to play and some aren't. But
Yeah.
I think there's so many beautiful lessons in that. Yeah.
And that's where we also get to take a step back and see where we're being reactive versus where we can respond better in those moments that, oh, like I was trying so hard to be nice to this person and they met me so harshly. And I want to react now and to meet them where they're at. But what if I take a step back and I can respond in a different way? I can respond with a different energy.
Yeah. And also having that awareness that, like, when people are acting out in these ways, most of the time, I feel like 99% of the time with the majority of people, they're not doing it to purposely hurt you. It's their own coping mechanisms and their own protectors just trying to keep a part of them safe. Because we never know what's really going on in people's bodies. Like, there could be someone who looks like the most confident out there person who is actually just riddled with anxiety and hurt inside of them. So, yeah.
And the thing is, if we would connect more and we would share more about these deep, vulnerable parts of ourselves, we would see that everyone is dealing with these types of things. And when we realize that we're not alone, then this is where this like support comes in and we're able to work things through all together. I think that when we're caught up in our little world, and being hard on ourselves, it's because we feel like we're the only ones that is feeling this way, or that I can't get this right or whatnot. But really we're all in the same boat and we're all just looking for that deeper connection to ourselves and to others, and to be belonging and to be loved and to be accepted as we are, and to fully express ourselves and stand in our power, and all of this stuff.
That is really what we're trying to do at the end of the day. We're always just trying to meet ourselves. Wow. Thank you, Danika. That was amazing.
Wow, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the show today and teaching us about things that you've learned, and also being vulnerable as well and sharing personal stories. I really appreciate that. So for people listening, if they are wanting to find you or follow you, where is the best place to find you or to contact you if they have any questions and things like that?
At this moment, you could find me on Instagram. My handle is I am Danika Doucet, and I'm sharing here ways to regulate your nervous system, breathwork techniques, movements, really anything to help you in or assist you in getting in your body, connecting with the earth and with source. So I also do work with people one-on-one. I work with people who are ready, willing, and committed to experiencing a significant shift in the way they communicate with themselves, with their bodies, their relationship with their emotions and their intuition. So if you are someone who's felt disconnected with your body, disconnected with your emotions, not really sure if you can trust your intuition, I see you. I see you, and I've been there. If you feel like uncomfortable in your own skin or unsafe in your body, if you are looking externally for answers, then I want to work with you if you are ready for it. Because I do believe that you get to step into your power, reclaim all parts of yourself. You get to express yourself the way that you want and feel confident, feel good in your body, feel safe in your body. You get to also listen to your body cues to guide you through your decisions. So I want you to know that you're the boss and that you get to guide this whole thing, but I'm here to support you and assist you in the ways that I can, which is with embodiment coaching, going deep at the root of the issues and addressing them there so that we can work on letting those destructive behaviors, those loop patterns fall away while we move into something that's more suited for your highest timeline. And I want you to feel completely in your body. I want you to be able to experience life in a more playful way and to wake up every day and really truly be grateful for it. So if you are wanting to work with me, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I do work with people over Zoom or in person if you are around my region, which is New Brunswick, Canada. And I will be offering some workshops and group work in the near future. But at this moment, this is what I'm offering.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Danika, for being on the show. It was such a joy to have you here, and thank you for shining your light. You're such a beautiful soul. And so just like talking to you, I can feel your grounding energy. I can feel the energy through the screen, and it was amazing. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, my love. I'm so happy and honored.
Alrighty, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. I'm just interrupting here because we are now in the portion of today's episode where Danika will be guiding you through a small 5-minute integrative breathwork session. So I hope that you enjoy. I did it. She was personally guiding me through this breathwork session, and I found it really helpful and beneficial for me. We actually recorded this about halfway through today's podcast, but I felt like it would be more fitting to have this at the end of the podcast so you know where it is and you can just jump straight back to this whenever you feel like you need just a quick integrative breath pattern. She also shares a lot of breathwork on her Instagram in her IGTV stories. So if you do want to check them out and have more small integrative breathwork sessions, which you can do within your day, definitely go check that out. And yeah, please enjoy. And yeah.
It almost makes me feel like doing a little breath. Would you like to breathe with me?
Yeah.
Just a little. So if you would like to join us in a little breathing exercise, you can make yourself comfortable either in a seat or lying down. And don't do this if you're driving, of course. Okay, so the breath I want to share today is the one that's been the most powerful for me. And it's a 3-part breath, all in and out from your mouth. And you work through this breath in a cyclical motion. So you're not stopping at the bottom or at the top. You just keep it moving. And it's all in and out from your mouth. You start down in your belly, then you breathe up into your chest, and you release. You release with sound if sound feels good. But really take it at your own pace. And we won't be doing it for too long, just long enough to feel the effects of it. And this can happen in about a minute. You might start feeling dizzy. You might get some tingles at your extremities, your fingers, your toes, maybe around your mouth. But just know that anything that you're experiencing, it's all part of it. And see if you can be present with the sensations, especially when we come back down. So in the moment that you're breathing, just keep the cyclical motion going, breathing in your mouth, down in your belly. So it might sound like this, and then up into your chest, and releasing. So if you want to practice with me, just breathing in. You could have your mouth open wide. You can do it any way that feels good. If it feels better for you to take in more oxygen. Good. So Emily, do you mind muting yourself?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll be using my little egg shaker, and I'll also be guiding with my own breath. Now take a moment and feel your support. You could close your eyes if it feels comfortable for you. Feel your support. Maybe there's a chair holding you, or maybe your bed is holding you. And let's take a deep, clearing breath in the nose. And open your mouth to let it go. Let's do that one more time, breathing in. And let it go. You can start your 3-part breath, all in and out from your mouth, moving in a cyclical motion. So keep it moving. Any sensations that's coming up, it's all part of it. Anything that needs to be moved through you can move with your breath. Taking 3 more rounds like that, and at your 4th round, just take a deep breath in and then hold your breath. And breathing in now to hold. And take a moment here to just notice any sensations coming up. See if you can relax in your shoulders, the muscles around your face and your jaw. And when you feel that urge to release, let it go, make some noise, do whatever feels good for you. And just take a moment here, if you'd like, to come back to your natural pace of breath in and out from your nose, and notice what you just created in this past minute of powerful breathing. You don't need to change anything about yourself. Just being with your body. Now, as we start coming back to this space, feel into your support again. The parts of your body that are connected with your chair or the ground. And you could open your eyes gently and look around your space. Notice different colors, patterns, objects. And then coming back here when you're ready.
Wow.
How are you feeling?
Oh, that feels so good. I feel like during that, towards the end of that, mostly I just felt that embodied awareness feeling of just being, and just with everything. Now I'm sort of moved back into that soft mind, but yeah, and just like looking around the room, the colors do seem more vibrant, the patterns, like I'm in the walk-in robe, so I'm looking at the clothes and like the patterns on the clothes, and yeah, everything, like the colors, everything just sort of stands out so much more.
And it's interesting how all of that took a minute. I'm not even sure if it was a full minute.
Exactly.
That's how powerful this practice is.
All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that integrative breath work from Danika. And that brings us to the end of today's podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and take it easy for the rest of the day wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you in my next podcast. Bye, everyone.